Hi everybody, welcome back to Film Valor. Today we got a special episode. I'm here with Jamison.
Hey guys.
And we're gonna get right down to it. Today we're talking about how Hollywood likes to recycle stories and scripts and characters.
Definitely.
And we're just gonna talk about our opinions and what we think about it and possibly what is the future of movies in Hollywood. So, start us off, Jameson. What do you feel about recycled pictures and scripts and whatnot?
Well, I definitely think, there is something, the reason why the crux of this episode, I think, was us realizing there's definitely a lot of movies, especially nowadays, that they just keep doing over and over again in different forms. It's funny, actually, I was in the theater last night and I was watching Atomic Blonde, which was actually really good. But when you think about it, it's really... it's really just like John Wick, and then just like a lot of, it's like a million movies, but I guess it's interesting that there's a female lead, and it's done with, highly stylized, and I love Charlize Theron. That concept of, let's do it with just this twist, is definitely something that Hollywood does a lot.
Yeah.
Let's just add this one little tweak.
So then it's not totally
and it's not
taken,
the same. Yeah. Which I think is not a good thing, There's certain times that produces interesting results. I'm trying to think of the best example of that, but now let's just get it clear. We're talking about sequels too, or we're talking more like ideas they're doing in another form. You know what I mean?
would say more ideas are doing it in a different form.
Because sequels is a whole other episode.
Sequels. Yeah, I mean, I love sequels. I mean, but I think there's a fine line between just milking it for all it's worth, and it gets boring.
Definitely.
I mean, we could pick apart a lot of films, but in the end, it's not going to really do anything, because that's how I guess most of Hollywood works, where they want to just, recycle the same stuff until it's... Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What's an interesting phenomenon, too, though, while we're on that, is that they keep rebooting things, right? Which is sort of another conversation even still, but they reboot things that worked and then do them differently with things that don't work, So it's like, all right, but there's a reason why this worked in the first place, and just sort of taking the essence of what didn't work.
Right. Don't fix what's not broken.
I mean, yeah, exactly. So.
But this year has been a year of reboots and whatnot.
Definitely.
It's definitely brought back a bit of the past, and some movies have been all right.
Yeah, they keep doing the kidnapped, the woman who's actually, what I've seen a million versions of now too is like the woman who they're always making that movie. The woman that has the guy that she's in love with, and then there's the other guy who's crazy obsessed with her, and it becomes like a thriller. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like a Lifetime movie thriller almost. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really go there, but it goes kind of there. It's like that little, like, it's like trying to be romance, but it wants to also be a thriller. I've seen that movie happen, I want to say, at least 3 or 4 times in the last 2 years.
Yeah,
I've seen that movie, and it's funny because they do it with a white cast in one case, or maybe they have 2 women in another case, or then maybe they have them an all black cast or whatever it is, which is great. All power to that, but it's very funny that is like the seed of it. Guy, girl with guy, or somebody in relationship that's normal, and then other person who seems normal at first is not so normal, and now he's jealous of your relationship. But then he's breaking into your house and hiding under your bed.
Right.
Or in the walls. There's one trailer where the guy was like under the bed, like just looking at her, and I was like, "This is funny." It's actually funny because it's like, I don't know. It's not, that situation's not funny. That's scary, but that just seeing that on screen just seems like, I can't believe they keep doing this in various ways.
Yeah.
That's another one, and of course they. It's also there's also the sort of, let's say, the genre movie, right? So like you have your Fast and Furious, and then you have your knockoffs of Fast and Furious, and you have the guy that's trying to learn how to be the driver, and then now he's the driver. and people are around him. The bad guys fighting him and everything else. Those movies now exist, and there's so many of them
Mm-hmm.
because Fast and Furious was so successful and everything else. But definitely these, it's definitely good when you get a new concept to a thriller, like we saw. Don't Breathe
Mm-hmm.
was
I was just thinking
that was
about
a
that.
great movie,
Yeah.
and that was an original concept that was really well done, extremely well done, really well performed, and was very unexpected.
Yeah.
Because also, I don't think when you actually told me about that movie first, and I said, how can they make a movie about a blind guy, like robbing a blind guy, in his house? Like that sounds.
Yeah.
It just sounded like that doesn't make sense. How that could be scary. Like I feel bad for that guy. But then the whole movie's about playing on the fact that most people would never think that would work.
Right. Yeah.
But it works really well.
It does.
It's actually great, and it set them up for these really interesting scenarios that you would never achieve in a movie that wasn't about a blind guy.
Oh yeah.
All those great setups.
I mean, really, especially Don't Breathe. I mean, it really, it didn't run. It didn't need to rely on dialogue or whatever.
Yeah.
It was just the simple fact that here was this blind guy,
Mm-hmm.
and these kids break into his house,
Yeah.
and they mess with the wrong guy.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
I mean, and that's all. That's all
And it
you
was
need.
simple.
There was no
It was simple.
ghost or.
See, that's an example of
you know.
like a good twist on the same plot idea. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That's been done before. They break into the house. It's the wrong person's house, right? But having that element of him being, blind, him almost seeming, completely helpless at first was such a great turn to play with it. And on top of that too, they executed it in an extremely original way.
Yeah.
The directing was extraordinary. Everything about it was extraordinary. Like the fact that we were flying through walls and through vents the whole time and everything else. It was really, really, really well executed idea. So that's a great example of horror and doing that genre the right way.
Mm.
I'm trying to think if there's any other examples that you could think of. I mean, there's so many of them. It's like hard to even just bring them.
Yeah,
all.
I mean, I think particularly, I think horror movies tend to. I think they have a little bit more freedom with
Yeah.
that. They don't of course, you get into, the kids go into the woods thing and whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's over. Like Cabin in the Woods. You got
Cabin
the
in the
Blair
Woods.
Witch.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
got.
Well, Cabin in the Woods was a good version of that.
Yeah, it was.
That
it
was
was
a really good version.
That was
of
pretty cool though.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's some work, some don't. But I think
But
horror
it's,
movies.
it is funny to think though that they were able to play on that that thing that they do so repeatedly. That's how much that genre has acknowledged the fact that they keep using that over and over again.
Yeah.
With Cabin in the Woods, which was
Right.
nice. So they're saying, look, we know we do this a lot.
Yeah,
So
right.
here's this the play on this at least.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that was.
And
good.
if they're going to do a play on it, like, treat it like, Don't Breathe, where it's just,
Right.
it's so simple that it's not, it's not, you're looking at the seed, not not the plant.
Right.
you know?
Exactly. Exactly.
And
So-
that's what you want to carry over, not the plant.
Right, exactly. It's like, what, you want to have those elements of it that truly creates a new experience, Once the experience is a matter of doing the same thing, only a little step to the left, is not interesting. And I think audiences see through that. They want something that is going to at least give them a different perspective on the same idea.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it has to be so different that they feel like they've never seen it before, and that's important. That's really, really important. I mean, these movies that come out that are not sort of trying to offer something different. I mean, I think that's probably the key word is people want something that is unique, and they want something that they enjoy or that they're entertained by.
Right.
So if you can achieve those things, and it's not always easy, of course, and there's so many different factors to how a movie is made and what the studio wants, what the director wants, what everybody wants, and how much stuff they have to fit into it and everything else. But if there is a way of cutting through that and providing something that's unique, then and hopefully at some point we'll get back to the point of stories that are original
Yeah.
being put out there, which I think then goes to the superhero sequel thing and everything else. And we like a good superhero movie once in a while, but there's so many of them.
Yeah, and
right?
then that gets really, thrown in the, gets
Yeah.
thrown in there a lot in
Yeah.
terms of, overdone and
Yeah, superhero movies for sure, and it's really funny watching them go back and redo Spider-Man a million times too, and you have to sit there and say like, but we've seen that, we've
yeah.
seen that, and then you saw in Amazing Spider-Man them trying to struggle around doing that again, so that was almost it didn't it didn't fully pan out for them by the second one. I think they gave their best efforts towards that, but again they were actually working against a movie that just came out. You know what I mean? So what an incredibly crazy thing to have to do. To do the same thing over again. I mean, I give them credit. I think for trying to do that, but it's it's the sort of thing that, again, if you're giving audiences the same thing, it just doesn't work. They get bored more easily. They've seen those tricks before. And that's why movies like Guardians of the Galaxy within that vein are very exciting, because that hasn't been done before. There's elements of there that had been done. You can break down what those elements are, but what James Gunn did there was he took those characters and that storyline, and he pushed that much further than I think other filmmakers would have been would maybe not have been willing to do that, because that sort of was going off the map. You know what I mean? He journeyed into new territory there, and now suddenly you see movies, superhero movies, or even DC trying to be funnier. And I would think that almost directly correlates to how well Guardians of the Galaxy did. That Ant-Man worked out, all those things.
Yeah,
Ant-Man, trying to be more comedic, right? It's like now you suddenly see Aquaman throwing a joke in there, and it's, I guess it works and it works and it doesn't, but I give James Gunn a lot of credit for going out there and doing that, and sort of establishing his own space in that universe, which I think is very cool.
And that's what I feel like that's what you got to do. Is that, as you said, he created his own space for it.
Right. Exactly.
And it wasn't going for anything other than what it was.
Exactly.
It was totally its own movie.
Exactly.
And he played with it. He had fun with it. And he made it his own. I mean, and that's the most
that was awesome.
important thing you could do as a filmmaker.
Every filmmaker is unique, and if I think the more and more that filmmakers are allowed to have their own voice in doing something, and the more and more unique, the more and more it allows them to be shown through. I think the better the movie is. I really do. You're hiring that person for a reason. You want them to go out and make their movie, and their version of that, and they wouldn't make it the way the other person would, which is what you see working so successfully with James Gunn. So that's that idea of stories being repeated and everything else start to become that idea becomes challenged by the fact that you have people out there that may be telling similar stories, but they're doing it in their own way. That's then totally revamping what even sometimes would be a script that would seem very typical in an interesting way. And so I think that's very cool, and I think if we if it can head more so towards that, of allowing that singular voice to come out, and pushing again to be more unique, to tell different kinds of stories, or if you're telling similar stories, tell them in a different way.
Yeah.
Then I think Marvel has gotten that, and I think they're doing that more and more so, and hopefully, hopefully the industry keeps pushing that and pushing beyond it too, that we also aren't just getting superhero movies. Because what's funny is, it seems like all these movies are superheroes somehow. You know what I mean?
No,
so getting now beyond that too, having these movies that are coming out, not just playing it safe because they know that plot structure works, and they know that will draw people, but instead being sort of bold and taking new directions, with hopefully with newer content and newer screenplays, I think that's pretty much the gist of it, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, let's see. Yeah, no.
So, so I think that's pretty much our talk for today. We'd love to know what you guys think about this down below. Is Hollywood doing the same stories over and over again? And if they are, what is the ones that you hope they don't do anymore, I guess, would be number one. And also, How can they change it? What could be done? And is this a thing that you guys have been noticing also? Because it seems to have always been around. Okay, so I think that's all for today. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Film Valor, and we'll see you guys soon.
Take care, guys.